Warning, I am not a clinical psychologist or a body language expert. This is merely what I believe to be happening in the video that's going to play. Also, I took inspiration from Legit Roman's video about the same topic. Today, we're going to be analyzing the conversation that Joe Rogan, a popular podcast host, and Neil deGrasse Tyson, renowned astrophysicist, had on the Joe Rogan Experience podcast. We're going to dive in on social cues and each of their body languages to try to see the deeper picture within, and ultimately see that Neil deGrasse Tyson is annoying. Let's begin. This first clip from the podcast involves Tyson making a statement, then Joe Rogan attempting to follow up with a counter-argument.
Whatever is your concept, the discoveries of astrophysicists bring you closer to it.
I get your perspective. Let me be the opposing view. They feel...
After watching the clip, it is apparent that Tyson is a very straightforward talker. Notice how in most of the clips you're about to see, you rarely see his eyes divert from Joe's shiny head. Tyson also uses a lot of hand gestures that help communicate what he's saying. These can also help Tyson connect his thoughts with the motions of his hands. After he's done talking, I don't know what's going on here. He kind of leans back and adjusts himself and flutters his eyes a little bit. This is a sign that he's probably expecting Rogan to take a while conjuring up a point about what he had just said. In this debrief moment, he also lets out a sigh that signifies the conclusion of his point. Camera flips to show Rogan looking at the ceiling. Whenever people look away whenever talking, it usually means one of two things. The first is that they're taking the eyes away from the conversation to kind of process all of the information he just heard. This gives his brain time to not process his sight, leaving more room for thinking. Another possible reason why he's looking up is that he can take a break from staring at Tyson. This doesn't mean he's scared, but it implies that his eyes need a new stimulant. Then he begins his counterpoint to whatever Tyson said, and this is where the magic happens.
They feel...
No, I'm not trying to...
No, I know you're not.
This is just information.
Okay.
This is information, and I walk out of the room.
For some reason, Tyson begins speaking whenever Joe is trying to gather his thoughts. Now, this is frustrating because he may have just lost his train of thought. Now, what doesn't make sense to me is that he wasn't even against him. He was on his side with his statement. You can see this by how he raises his hands. Whenever we bring our hands closer to us and show outward-facing palms, it's usually a sign of submission. A lot for better words, it's saying, hey, I'm not the dude you should be angry at. Him bringing up his hands may be a justification of his previous interruption. Then he proceeds to immediately drop his tone of voice.
They feel...
No, I'm not trying to...
No, I know you're not.
This is just information.
Okay.
This is information, and I walk out of the room.
You see, whenever we're trying to calm someone down, we may speak in a higher voice. This biologically makes us less of a threat. Just think about the squeak of a mouse versus the roar of a lion. It's a big difference. Tyson lowering his tone and slowing his speech is a signal for what I'm about to say is important. Tyson is a very good speaker, as he's been on many shows explaining very complicated phenomenons. Good speakers will also glance over the less important parts with a higher voice and quicker words. Whenever they slow down, it's a speed change, which causes the listener to realize, wait, what just happened? Then they start paying attention. As this video goes on, you'll notice these common signs come up many times, so I won't have to explain them as much. I'll probably just point them out as we analyze. This second clip, they talk about rappelling down a cathedral, and we see a very distinctive shift in power.
Hawaii.
And it was... I got very fortunate. It was a night where the moon was not out.
Yes. Moon is not the astronomer's favorite thing. Yeah. We want to climb the walls of St. Paul's Cathedral in downtown London. What would you say? No.
Yeah, but are those comparable? I mean, these are
wait, hold on. We want to rappel down.
As we can see, Joe begins talking like normal. Then Tyson swoops in and steals the spotlight. Joe makes an attempt to try and regain his pedestal in the conversation, but Tyson is a very persistent person. He's one of the types that doesn't know that he's annoying, so he'll continue to talk, not recognizing any social cues. Once this happens, you see Joe try to slow down his speech, and then he closes his mouth and nods. It is at this point he's giving up. The nod as a gesture of defeat. It's kind of like a mute sigh, for better words. Tyson continues talking, and Joe tries to butt in to make an additional point. But literally immediately, Tyson begins to say wait over and over and raises his voice.
Yeah, but are those comparable? I mean, these are
wait, hold on.
constructions.
We want to rappel down.
He's being very aggressive in his words and mannerisms. He's trying to say, I will win the time. I will get more time. He's used to being the main attraction at things he's present at. He's had many special talks and interviews where he is the main center of attention. He's too used to being in the spotlight, and it's clearly rubbed off on him. He believes that he is the main character. His ego has been artificially inflated. This leads to him viewing himself above others, which is bad. You're supposed to be empathetic to others, and this involves you giving them the time of day they deserve for listening to whatever you're saying.
I think the real problem, too, is I think it's
if you value mountain climbing.
As we see, Joe is starting to get visibly annoyed at Tyson's interruptions. He looks away and scowls, which means clearly he is not comfortable with the situation, and he is getting angrier by the minute.
Part of browsing.
I understand.
Okay, so
that
that is how I feel. That's how I should be.
Well, don't you think they're
I'm
just
screaming
doing
at you.
it-
I'm sorry.
No,
here.
you're getting a little excited.
Sorry.
Don't you think?
What the hell? What am I even supposed to say? It's at this point Joe is getting so unsatisfied, he's expecting more interruptions. He's visibly cringing, and although Tyson has multiple PhDs in space science or something, he fails to recognize these cues that, hey, maybe you should stop. And this is the main point. He doesn't realize he's annoying because people are too scared to speak up about it. They're trying to prevent another explosion. Remember, this video is mostly speculation, so take everything I say with a grain of salt. Anyways, thanks for watching.